Everyone, welcome to Tech Down Over. I'm Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by my good friend Down Under, in jail down under, or not in jail, but we're all in jail right now. Anyway, Jeff Blanchard is joining us. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, thank you, Rick. Yes, well, they always call us the penal colony that we've started out as. I think we've progressed from there. So
yeah, and now it's gone to everywhere. The whole world is a penal colony. It seems. It's amazing what one little virus can do to the whole world economy. Anyway, joining us also today is going to be Harold Muliati, and here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation. Digital learning development, media development, corporate video, management consulting, and more. Visit us at www.relate.com. Thanks. And I just noticed something. We didn't have enough separation between us when we were going through the water in the intro.
That's right. Yes, we flouted the laws, but
it was we all know that viruses are on the water. That's why they're telling people, stay off the beach. You can't go on the beach. Sand doesn't really do much for viruses, and water doesn't do anything for a virus, but it's okay.
I still think that I think they're quite right there, because like here, what they're saying is it's not so much if people have a bit on the beach, but they just abuse the things and they get too much, and it's just easy to close them than try to police people just don't.
And I say don't close anything. Let everybody go. Let the virus run, and we're done. And we don't have to destroy anything. And the people who die, unfortunately, are probably the people who would die anyway soon. So, I don't know. I think it's all BS. But aside from that, in our intro also, we have planes flying. It's unique. We're one of the few places with planes flying. So that's kind of cool. I don't know where they're going to. They're just kind of taking off. I think it's coming to L.A., but when you get to L.A., they arrest you. So, interesting place.
Quarantine.
Yep. Self-quarantine. Why don't we quarantine the politicians? That would be a lot better. So anyway, and all the fake doctors going, you can get a virus from just looking at it. Oh, I just saw it. There it is. I'm contaminated. But anyway, I digress. Nobody knows anything about science anymore, so they can fool the public easily. So today we're going to do something helpful for everyone who's stuck at home, prisoner or not, so that you can work better and figure out what you need to do to get your beautiful face online so people can see you in team meetings and make sure you're still alive and collaborating with everyone else. So Harold, what do we have today?
Well, the main thing that people are probably going to be buying to work from home are webcams. And over here, we generally use Logitech webcams. They tend to work very well they give you a clean picture. They're pretty minimal on the amount of software and stuff you use. This here is a classic. This is the Logitech C920. It's very common. It's actually a little hard to come across new nowadays just because demand is so high because of all of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You looked?
Yeah, I looked a few places where they were out.
Interesting.
There are similar models. Like, for example, there is the C925E business webcam, which is very similar.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it's very similar to the C920, but it has a flip-out privacy screen to cover the lens.
That's very important.
Which, I mean, with a webcam, you can just unplug it too. But
yeah, that's true. Or you could actually just turn it down and you won't see anything. But
yeah,
that is a truism, because if you do have a webcam, there are bugs out there, worms or whatever else, viruses that can attack your PC and get a hold and control of your webcam. Happens all the time. But on the whole, probably doesn't happen that much. If you have a good firewall, you won't be affected by that.
And hopefully you're not doing your taxes right in front of the webcam.
That's right. Now, Logitech does make some of the best webcams around. We have another one, the Logitech Brio.
Yeah, the Brio 4K, it's a very good one.
Now, we recommend you don't go to 4K, just stick to 1080p, because most people will not have 4K. And there's a good chance your bandwidth may be too slow for what you're doing, or they're going to drop you down to 1080 anyway. We recommend just stay on 1080 if you can tolerate the 1080 bandwidth. If you can't, 720p is good enough.
That's good enough.
What, Jeff?
I said yes. That's good enough. The 720.
It looks pretty good.
I advise people try the lowest one first and see how everything goes, because all of a sudden everybody's got the highest bandwidth used. then it becomes useless as well. But also, when you are doing things, yes, if you've got the face to face, but always be prepared, everybody, just to switch your camera off just in case, because then you can still hear people. But sometimes the people give up on that. So, oh no, horrible bandwidth. Yeah,
well, I'll give you an example. So be careful when you're on a webcam, because half the time people don't know they're on the webcam.
Yeah.
They're doing WebEx or something else, and we know we have one person we know. We won't mention who it is or whatever. It's just somebody that we know, and she was on a WebEx, and she bent. She had to go do something. She was leaning over a screen, and she kind of opened up, and you could kind of see everything, and you just go, oh. And everybody was just kind of looking at each other. So, you have to be careful. You just have to be careful, because people will notice. And it got me the other day. I was on a conference call. I didn't realize my webcam was on. I hit escape to turn on or to get called back by WebEx, but I didn't notice that I had a checkbox on the webcam. And it's just when you're on WebEx, you don't even notice you're on webcam. It's just a little teeny thing somewhere. And of course, my wife's in the same conference. Does she tell me, oh, your webcam's on? No. She just sits there going, oh, your hair didn't look good. You look sloppy. You could see this much of your head. I go, why didn't you tell me? Oh, no.
And this actually, this brings up another important point about webcams that people don't always realize, is that webcams have catch a lot. They have a very wide field of view,
That's
usually
right.
a 90-degree field of view. So, if you're on webcam, then you might be able to catch things that you didn't realize were going to be in the shot. So a lot more will be in the shot.
Now, you can zoom in on your webcams. The software they provide you with usually allows you to do a zoom in, so you're much tighter. That may be a safer thing to do, especially if you're not moving much and you're just a talking head every so often. And if you don't need to have your webcam up, turn it off, because for the most part, it just consumes a lot more bandwidth. And if you've got 10, 20, 30, 100 people on a conference call, nobody really wants to see you unless you're the presenter.
And speaking of the webcam software, yes, they usually give you a software package that lets you adjust certain things with the webcam, like zoom and stuff like that. One thing that I think is important, if they let you do it, is to turn off auto exposure. If you've used any other kind of camera for video, you know how much auto exposure can mess with you. If something bright comes up in the background, then suddenly your whole picture goes dark or something like that. It's just in general for video, it's better to make sure you're exposed right and then not have auto exposure on.
Webcams aren't that forgiving, and a lot of times you need to backlight a little bit, because if you don't, the webcam will over bright you up from the front. They're just fussy that way. So if you have a little more light behind you, it helps.
And also, I find with webcams is sometimes don't go overboard. If you do proper lighting, it's worse, because the webcam, it's bright sunlight and cuts it down, whereas you're better off with just a natural light, but a normal LED light, normal office light, or just open the window, the shades or something if you can. But if you put a proper big LED light, it thinks it's the sun and darkens it automatically. And so like if I had all these lights on, probably with the webcam, it would be too dark, so I'd have to switch them off so it'll brighten it up. So because they're meant for the general population, they're not meant for a studio operation. They're meant for everyday use.
Also,
like now,
Jeff and I are both on Macs. We're both on iMacs, and the iMac is bright. So that is your light right there. It lights you up.
That's enough in a dark thing. When you're on an iMac, it will just brighten your face up by itself, and you can always tell that, because if somebody puts a black screen, if you just put something black on your screen, your face will go dark.
I know.
If you just put a black thing on there, just do that. You say, hang on, you just can't see. It's amazing the amount of light you get on the screen.
Yep. Yeah. So it's just something to keep in mind, that lighting on webcams is better probably not being professional. I tried that when we were starting out on this show, and I put up some lights, and it's like I've disappeared. I'm now just a character of a black silhouette. That was it. There was nothing left. It's like, wow. Turn off a couple of lights, all of a sudden the face comes back. I go, oh, that's just scary. Let's go back to the silhouette. But that's
and I guess a way to think of it is, if you're familiar at all with metering on like a DSLR or kind of stills camera, it's basically doing that. It's seeing the big part of the picture and trying to get it to average out to 50% gray, basically, on brightness.
Now, to me, like everything, like we say about video, that's not the most important. Like, as long as you can see your face, a bit of it, doesn't matter whether it's underexposed, overexposed, but if they can't hear you, that is the worst thing. So that you could have a perfect picture, but if you're going off the webcam microphone or the laptop, you sound like you're in the toilet. Yeah, and it just sounds horrible. Invest in you can get even a cheap Microsoft headphone with a microphone there for about $30. Even that, something like that with that type of microphone, it's only about $30, but that's more important, I think, than the video is the quality, because the amount of people you hear, and then they get feedback from all the things you can hear. Because if you've got a laptop and it's far away, it turns the mic gain up automatically, and then you can hear somebody washing the dishes in the background and all that. Whereas one of these headsets, even the cheap ones, they're not very good for distance, but they're right in front of your face, like Harold and Rick's got on there, the headset ones there. But when you move, the sound moves with you as well.
That's right.
So you're not sort of like some people talk and then move over to get a bit of paper, and then they disappear, and then the sound disappears off the sound as well.
Yeah, sort of like if I do this, I'm talking on my headset right now, but now when I turn this way, it's a lot lower, isn't it? And I come back over here, it's a lot louder. So the headset stays with you. If you're on a lavalier, which you connect here, as you turn or if you move or if you look up, you will lose half that sound because the mic is not moving with you. These mics, these are called ear set microphones. They hang over one ear and they come right about to the edge of the mouth. They do a really good job in giving you clean audio. I think Harold's on one too right now. He's on the DPA. Now these are expensive. We're not talking cheap right now. This one I have is about close to $600. I think his is about the same, $650. They're not cheap, so you're talking a little bit more money, and they have to go into some sort of XLR kind of connector. I don't know if I can show it from here. Let's see. So here's kind of what it would look like. So you have this. Here's your headset. If I unplug this, I have no sound, right?
There you do.
Or that's my headset. I'm sorry. Hold it. Two similar connectors. Here we go. If I unplug this one, I have no sound. This is a connector into an XLR. I can probably show you if this.
Yep, that's correct. You're dead. Yep. Yes.
And
I actually could hear you a bit. I just heard you through Harold's microphone.
Yeah. No, but actually, showing the headphone connection, that brings up a good point again, because even if you are just using like a cheap headset or something, it is important that you have headphones or something like that rather than just using, say, a laptop speaker or something. Because a lot of times, if you're using a mic with a laptop speaker, then you'll get feedback, or like you'll get a weird echo. People will start
to bleed. You might get bleed.
Yeah, people will hear themselves a little bit through your audio too. So it's generally better to have headphones of some fashion.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you want to hook up cameras, we talked about webcams, but if you want to hook up a proper camera, you need something a little bit better. And what we recommend are you can do one of two things. You can get a capture card that goes into your USB port, and those capture cards, for example, our favorite is Magewell, Magewell, there it is. They're beautiful. You plug in your camera, HDMI, or SDI if you're going really professional. SDI is serial digital interface. Those cameras are probably a lot more expensive than you'd probably ever want. We have some in here that we're using. But if you want just a standard HDMI out from most cameras, that'll go into that Magewell. The Magewell goes into USB 3. They usually have USB 3.0. There may be some that go into Thunderbolt 3, but I'm not 100% sure. And that goes into USB 3, and now you have the image from a real camera, like I've got in front of me, or like Harold has in front of him. I believe Jeff's on, I'm not sure what you're on today. Are you on the Panasonic or?
Panasonic.
You're on the Panasonic, but that's a camcorder.
Yeah, but that's same idea behind it, right?
Yep. So to get into what we're doing right now, we all have professional cards that allow us to bring that image into whatever software we're using. Jeff's using Wirecast from Telestream, and we're using vMix from vMix. They're in Australia, actually. Wirecast is in Northern California. Both do pretty good jobs for bringing in audio, video, mixing it together and doing a good job. We normally don't bring in our audio from the cameras proper. The reason being, cameras have really crappy audio. Even if you now you could put a good bit of audio on your camera and bring it in that way, but it's just easier to have separate audio. If you don't have separate audio, sure, attach your camera to something good and see how that sounds. You could do a wireless lav. You can do a lav connected to the camera. You can do those shotgun microphones on top of your camera. All of those will give you better sound than what the camera itself has. Cameras are notorious for lousy preamplifiers, even though if you're really close, sometimes they sound okay.
Yeah, they're mostly just for reference or something like that. I think they don't expect you to use the in-camera microphone that much most of the time.
No. And the other thing is, aside from Magewell, we have cards like Legato or Elgato.
Yeah.
Elgato has pretty good capture cards. I don't think they're as good as Magewell.
Well, they work all right. You actually have to use Elgato's like software a little more to get it to work, whereas Magewell are just very plug and play.
Yeah, the Magewell comes in as a webcam on your system, so they're very easy to put anywhere. You can connect the Magewell. You will never have a problem with the Magewell card. They just work, and they work beautifully. We've used them in many live occasions at trade shows to do shows live, and they have worked perfectly well. No problem.
There was one other point with cameras that I wanted to cover when it comes to remote conferencing and that sort of thing, and that's whatever kind of camera you're using. Although I think I see this the most with when people are using, their cell phone as a conference camera, is you have to watch out what angle your camera is looking at you from. You usually want your camera to be looking at you from at eye level or maybe a little above.
You don't want this. Hey, nice to see you guys. And they're looking right up your nose. You don't want that.
But you can always tell when people are on an iPhone or an iPad because they always are looking up your nose.
Because they have it down here. Yeah, that's like...
Because you just can't help it because
they're holding it here.
Unnaturally. You've got to hold it unnaturally.
Yeah. So they're doing, hi, everyone. Good to see you guys. And you see is their nose. Not good. Now, if you do this, you have to be careful because all they will see is your nose. So then they're going, oh, what's he saying?
There's one podcast I see there's one podcast I see out there that I know he must be doing it, but he looks like he's in an eye and lung or something. You just see it all like that, and it just looks like, is there something wrong with him? Is he paralyzed? But no, it's just he's got it, and it's said because iPads and iPhones, it's just unnatural to hold it so you can get it correctly. So people just hold it straight or whatever, and it's not. It's looking up your nose, and they said that's a problem.
The thing to keep in mind is, especially with wide-angled cameras, something further away from the camera is going to get shrunk, something closer is going to get blown out. So usually, it'll make it look like your neck is really big and then you've got a pinhead.
Yeah, or your nose is really pulled out.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot where people got these huge noses and big round heads because they get so close.
And it's like, really. So those are things to consider. You want to look as normal as you can. You don't want to kind of have this extruded look only because the lens on your camera is just either too wide or too close. There's a lot of little things like that can make things not look that well. But you can also get cards, depending on whether you're on a Mac or on a PC. On the Mac, they have to be external capture cards. I believe there are some from Blackmagic Design for the Mac. The Elgatos should work on a Mac as well because they are USB 3. So you could do those. The Magewells, I believe, work on a Mac as well. If I'm not wrong, I won't put money on that one, but I think they do. I think they're Mac and PC. So, those are just some things to consider. And the audio, like we said, you can also buy devices that are pretty cheap. You can buy USB to XLR converters. So an XLR is a 3-prong plug. It's got 3 little holes. And when you have an XLR, like we have on these things, the XLR has to go either into a preamplifier or a compressor if it has enough power, or it can go into a smaller preamp, little ones, or you can go into something like a Shure, Shure, X2, the number 2, U, X2, and then U. So what that does is it converts your signal from your microphone into an XLR into the USB. And they work really nicely. The Shure X2U is about $99, I think. And it sounds great. It's a professional Class A preamp on it. Sounds good. There's a couple of other companies. There's another one I'm thinking of which just slipped. We have one of those too. It's a different converter. It's been so Centrance. Centrance, C and then ENTRANCE. Centrance has very good also converters that will work from XLR to USB. They're actually a really good one. Centrance even has a very small, teeny, it's about the size of a cell phone, preamplifier. I think it's got 4 or 6 inputs. So you could have a really nice kind of mixer preamplifier right in that little device. It costs about $300. Does a really nice job. So there's a lot of choices for whatever you want to do as far as audio, as far as video, to make yourself sound and look good. And that'll get you along, because a lot of people actually are lonely at home. They don't like working from home. They like the social interaction, not the social distancing. They want social interaction. And not everybody was meant to work at home or can work at home. I like working at home, but I prefer working in the office. I think Jeff might like the home better than the office.
No, I don't mind working at home when I've got the option, but I don't. Yeah. I like being in the office better. But when I can, I just do like the fact that I can work at home.
Right.
But when people are in the office, because most of the things I do, I can do at home all the time.
Yeah.
But you feel isolated because you forget how much you do find out things from just hear somebody say something as they walk past, and you keep in contact a lot better.
Yeah, and when we're in offices or wherever we work, we're not only hearing other things, we're learning. You're learning from the people around you. You're learning from behaviors. You're learning from people showing you how to do things. The people under you are learning from you. We learn by example as a species. And when you're connected to WebEx or another kind of conferencing, you're not learning by example. You're just watching. The interaction is very, very different. You can make it more interactive, but that has its risks, and it doesn't always work well. And there are some people who need to be shown once, twice, 3 times. That's a lot harder to do online, especially if you've got a whole group of people talking at certain times. So there are a lot of issues with working remotely. And one of the biggest issues, and we talked about this on our other show yesterday, and that is when you are working remotely, one, you have to have trust with the employees you work with. Because if you don't trust them, the work won't get done, and deliverables won't happen. You also have to set deadlines and expectations up front. You can't just say, where's that thing I gave you to do? I didn't do it. You knew it was supposed to be done. Well, you didn't tell me when. Oh, right. Those are things that will cause a lot of problems. People disappearing on you. When you work at home, people don't always show up. They're not there when you call them, and people say, where were you? Now, if you're a contractor, that's okay. Technically, you're not allowed to manage a contractor. But if you're a full-time employee working from home, you better be there during the hours you committed to. Otherwise, people get irritated. They can't find you. They don't know where you are. They don't know what to do with whatever you're doing. And that becomes a lack of trust. So those are all things that affect how you work remotely. And again, if you like being by the water cooler and telling stories and getting gossip, not going to happen. It's going to be very different. I guess you could set up a virtual water cooler and people could come by and talk, but it's not the same.
Well, I'll tell you what I find that the best thing for when you're working at home is have a routine, and don't do the routine when you're not working. Like what I do, the only thing I change is I may get up 20 minutes later because I don't have to drive to work. Right. So I get up, normal thing. I do my same jobs as I do, clean up after the dogs, shower, shave, do everything, get dressed properly, and I'll do a nice shirt on, even though I'm not going in the office.
Right.
I have my lunch ready, in the fruit that I would have. I take that into my office and do that. So I'm not going to the fridge all the time. The only time I leave my desk is when I would at the office to go get a coffee, and then maybe to heat me lunch. But I keep the same routine in there because I'm at work and I know I'm sat at my desk and I'm available for that, and I'm very conscious. If I do need to go away because you have toilet breaks, you've got colleagues. You say, I'm just moving away for a moment. You keep in contact like you do in the office. You don't just disappear. You say, to your colleague or somebody, I'm just heading out. I won't be available for a few minutes. But just do that. But as I said, you've got to be there and available and seem to be there, and be conscious of that. If there is some emergency, like you do at work, sometimes you've got to go for 20 minutes, even when you should be there. But you just text your boss, or you just make sure that everybody's same as you would while you are there. Because even if it's a genuine reason and it's something you're doing for work, everybody assumes that you're not going to be doing the right thing when you're on your own working from home. So even the best of us always do. They say, no matter who it is, you think, I wonder if they're doing that work I'm expecting. And they're there just watching YouTubes all the time.
Yep.
But fortunately, with the work I have to do, if I don't do it, it usually shows up that I haven't done it. So you've got these things that count no matter what you do. If you just get them done, they all just have to be done.
And there are companies that have software, if they give you VPN notebooks and stuff, that can actually see what you're doing. For all of you who think you're invisible, you're not. You can be spied on, because that's the nature of remote work. And they can actually look at your computers. It doesn't happen often, but let's say somebody doesn't trust the worker, they may look. They may go, well, let me see if that person's in. Oh, they're not even logged in, nothing. So they can tell. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to get away with something, you'll get caught. It's just not worth it. And Jeff is so right that the most important thing is really keeping that routine going, making sure that you are at work, because you also put you in the mindset of being at work, and that's important.
Yeah, as I said, that's what I think. It makes my day go so darn quickly, and plus when you finish, you're at home. Whereas if you're going all of it's no different, and then people do get a bit bored. So that makes it. Going around the house doing other things makes that a bit more enjoyable when you've been just sat at your desk constantly all the time. But you just got to keep in mind, they're paying you to sit at that one. They're not paying you to go around the house, walking around the backyard or whatever. You do the same things as you do as work. You have your toilet breaks, you have your coffee breaks, and your lunch breaks. But, in between that time, you're 100% behind for what you're being paid to do. So, and if you get that trust, and if you can do it, it can help you out a lot. You might have, in the future when we don't have to be, you might have, a slightly sick child, which you wouldn't take a day, but you can work from home, not use it if you haven't got any sick days and then people don't mind. And so, I've done things like that because you can, like when you get, I don't know about you, I get my car serviced, and you used to have to go there, get a loan car, then you drive back to work. And then you go back when you finish, then about 4 hours back, drive back to the dealership and get that. But what you can do now, like I'd take my laptop, and these car dealerships, they supply you with an office these days. They have offices. Nice. Where I went, they had a blank office. I have my phone, have my laptop, and I do my work there. And people, because you can trust you can do that, you stay there for 2.5 hours. Then they give you your car back. Then you've saved the company hours, because usually you're out an hour going, taking the car in, then going to pick it up. But they're the sort of things, not just with the troubles we've got now, but if you can, I think this virus is actually going to open up the world a little bit better for work and everything. Because when people can realize they can do this, I think work will change in the future. That might say, we know that people can, so let's reduce the office size and have on-off people if they can do. And they might say, well, that works better, and life might be better for people's social life because they don't have that commute. So they're on at 9, so they don't have to drive there, they're there, and then they're off at 5, and then they've got that extra hour or something back all the time on that. So, I think it can be a positive for us for the future, hopefully, anyway.
Yep, that's true. And with that, that's it. That's it. I don't think we have anything else, right, Harold?
Not really. I mean, I hope that was helpful to all the people that are having to stay home and hopefully,
one last thing.
Yes.
One last thing. I think the best advice for any of this video conferencing and all that, and I've said this to a few people, never ever just organize a conference and just do it. Always have a test one with a colleague, because I can guarantee you, if you don't, the first conference you'll be 20 minutes in it, you still won't be there. You'll be trying to figure out how do I switch the sound on. Oh, this isn't working. Have a test first and use that conferencing system. Set up a fake meeting with your colleague that you can talk to, that you can talk to on a mobile phone. So while you're doing it, no, because I've done that with people before, and sometimes you can be on the phone with them for half an hour, and all. Yeah, you get them set up, but then when the meeting comes, it's there. And always get in there 5 minutes before you're supposed to. And
that way you can spend the first 20 minutes helping the other people get in rather than helping your own self get in.
I can always see the people who've never taken that advice because they don't do the right thing. You give them how to do it, and then you can always tell, well, they never, because they're always scrambling. Oh, and then I hear them blaming the equipment and blaming the thing, but it's usually something that we do wrong that stops us from getting in. So, but that's my big advice: is have a place like the old days of video recorders. If you set something up to record, and your most important shot will never do it. You've got to record something you're not interested to have a play with it. Make sure that it works first, because we're all human and we always get the first try wrong, and then it's usually the second time, that's what we've done wrong, and you only learn by your experiences. So.
That's true. Well, anyway, for all you people watching, we hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you can benefit from this. As the weeks go on and we run out of food, you'll have bread and water delivered to you, I'm sure, and you'll be a real
we've got
prisoner
plenty of food. That's getting
right
better now.
Food's been good, but they keep warning that in 2 to 3 weeks, the supply chain of food will start diminishing. I haven't seen it yet, but hopefully not. But if you do, bread and water is tasty, and it might do okay. And by the way, most of it has gluten for all you people panicky about gluten. There you go. Anyway, does it have gluten? Most people don't have celiac disease, but they think they do. Crazy. We'll see you next week on Tech Down Over. We may even have a guest next week. We'll do something different for a change. Take care, everyone. Bye. Take care.
Bye everyone.